Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And this was night one of the Superstar Shakeup. And tomorrow night will be the last night for the Superstar Shakeup on Smackdown. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video, I reviewed Ready Player One. So if you haven't seen my review of that, go check it out. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the film. Really loved it. So be sure to check out my review if you haven't gotten a chance to see it. So, but tonight's Raw, the first night of the Superstar Shakeup. I thought it was an okay show. Not a good show. Not great, but just okay. But we had superstars coming over from Smackdown to Raw tonight, and the show opened up with Kurt Angle coming out to say, welcoming the crowd to Raw, and he goes on to say that it's the Superstar Shakeup. And he's about to say, something else, but then gets interrupted by Sunil Singh, and Jinder Mahal ends up coming out as the first superstar to go to Raw, coming over from SmackDown. And so Jinder ends up saying to Kurt that he made the greatest decision in choosing, him, from SmackDown, and that Kurt secured Raw as the A show. And Jinder goes on to say that he was proven to be better than anyone on SmackDown, and he's going to be proven to be better than anyone on Raw. I'm like, really? I'm like, who wants to see Jinder Mahal? In fact, when Jinder ended up coming out, the crowd was booing the hell out of him. Nobody wants to see Jinder Mahal there. And Kurt says to Jinder, if he thinks he's better than anyone, in the Raw locker room, prove it. And so Kurt ends up saying, oh, if anybody in that locker room thinks, that they are better, thinks that, they're better than, that they're as better as Jinder, please come out. And so Kurt ends up making a match saying that that Jinder will be defending the United States Championship tonight, right now. And so the person who ends up accepting the challenge is Jeff Hardy. And so Jeff Hardy ends up coming out, and the match gets started. Jeff Hardy versus Jinder Mahal for the United States Championship. And it was a decent match. It was entertaining with Jeff Hardy in it. Jinder Mahal, of course, meh in the ring. But Jeff Hardy ended up getting the win. He ended up hitting Jinder Mahal with the Twist of Fate. And then he went for the Swanton Bomb, pinned Jinder Mahal. And so Jeff Hardy is the new United States Champion, which I'm really happy about. And now that Jeff Hardy's won the United States Championship, maybe he will go to SmackDown with the United States title. So yeah, so overall, Jeff Hardy versus Jinder, it was a decent match. Jeff Hardy was very entertaining. So then when Raw came back from commercial, we saw Jinder Mahal backstage furious about losing the United States title. And Renee Young comes and gets to tries to interview him about what just happened. And so Jinder ends up saying to Renee that he was embarrassed and that he wasn't ready to compete tonight. And he announces that at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which is happening next Friday on the 27th, he's going to get his rematch. He got his rematch clause. And so, that's going to be happening at the Greatest Royal Rumble. And so when, Jinder Mahal is talking, No Way Jose ends up coming with his crew, and they just start, dancing having a good time. So it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. And then after that, we had Bayley versus Sasha once again. We've seen these two go at it before a couple of times before. But you had at one point where Bayley was trying to go to the top, but she ended up slipping on the ring ropes, which gave Sasha, a chance to, come back in the match, to try to take over the match. And so Sasha had Bayley in the bank statement, and the Riot Squad ended up coming in, and they ended up beating down on Sasha, and then they ended up taking out Bayley. So, but that's pretty much what happened. The Riot Squad coming from SmackDown to Raw now. Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan. So the match ended in a no contest between Bayley and Sasha. And then the next match, it was the Authors of Pain versus Heath, Slater, and Rhyno. A rematch from last week, which the Authors of Pain won. They debuted last week. And pretty much it was the same thing that happened last week with this match. Authors of Pain got the win. They ended up hitting the last chapter to Rhyno. So Authors of Pain win it, just like last week. So nothing new in this. Nothing new was in this match. And then we had the Miz out there with for Miz TV with him and the Miz Taraj, Curtis Axel, and Bo Dallas. And he then introduces his guests, who are Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And if you remember, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, last week they had a match, but nobody won because it was a double count out. And and plus they were they can't be on SmackDown because they were fired after they lost their the WrestleMania match between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are there. They're happy. They're jumping around in the ring, hugging Miz and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. And Miz says they got the WWE Avengers here, and they said they're gonna change the landscape of Monday Night Raw. And he ends up saying that they're putting the Raw locker room on notice. And then Kurt Angle ends up coming out saying Miz has no control around here, and that he only does. And Kevin Owens, Kurt Angle ends up saying, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, last week they competed, but one of them was supposed to win, and neither of them won. But Kevin Owens ends up telling Kurt Angle that there was an email that was sent to him, and Sami Zayn ended up printing out that email, and he reads it, and the letter was actually came from Stephanie McMahon, and we find out that she ended up giving Raw contracts to both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Kurt says that he's surprised that Stephanie did that. Sorry about that, but I was saying Kurt says that he was surprised that Stephanie did that, and he ends up telling Miz that he got a call from Shane and Paige stating that Miz will be going to SmackDown. And so I'm very happy that Miz is going back to SmackDown, because the time he was on SmackDown, he delivered really good promos and great segments. The whole John Cena Nikki Bella thing that he did with him and Maurice, that was really funny. But he just delivered when he was on SmackDown. He made SmackDown worth watching. And Kurt says also to Miz that the Miz Taraj, Curtis Axel, and Bo Dallas are not going with him. Only Miz is the only one going to SmackDown. And so Kurt then announces a 10-man tag team match, which is going to be for the main event. He said it's going to be the 5 of them, The Miz, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and a superstar that's coming to Raw from SmackDown. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Kurt ends up making a 10-man tag team main event. It's going to be the 5 of them, which I announced. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Miz, and Miz Taraj versus Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and a superstar that's coming to Raw from SmackDown, which was a mystery. So pretty much that ended the segment, and segment, in my opinion, it was pretty decent. Then we had Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy versus The Revival, which was, decent match. You had Cesaro and Sheamus on commentary through the match, and whoever won this match, because this was still part of the tag team eliminator match, which we had last week. Whoever wins this match tonight gets to face Cesaro and Sheamus for the Raw Tag Team titles at the Greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. And like I said, the match was decent. I mean, I wanted the Revival to win, but Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy ended up winning the match. And they won the match because Bray ended up hitting a Sister Abigail on Dash Wilder. And Matt Hardy ended up hitting the Twist of Fate on Scott Dawson. And so Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy win it. And they get to face Cesaro and Sheamus for the Raw Tag Team titles at the Greatest Royal Rumble on the 27th. So, I wanted the Revival to win because they deserve a title shot. They deserve to hold the Raw Tag Team titles. I really like to see that at some point. But overall, the match it was decent. I would be happy that with Bray and Matt, if they win, and if they win the tag team titles, I'd be happy with that. Then we had Cesaro and Sheamus backstage, and Breezango ends up coming and writes them tickets. So Breezango is now part of the Raw roster. I'm like, oh my god, who wants to see Breezango? Who the hell wants to see Breezango? I don't understand why some people like them. I don't understand it. I don't. Then we had Ronda Rousey was backstage with Kurt Angle. Kurt says to her that she surprised a lot of people at WrestleMania. And knock is at the door. Kurt tells that someone to come in. And it's revealed that Natalya comes in. So Natalya is one of the women superstars to come over from SmackDown to Raw. And she is actually a babyface. She went from heel on SmackDown to babyface tonight on Raw. So she ends up coming in and she says to Kurt that she's going to be, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Taken from Bret Hart. And she ends up hugging. She ends up being happy seeing Ronda there because Ronda ended up training with Natalya. So it was a decent backstage segment with them. Sorry about that, but the next match, it was Amber Moon versus Mickie James. You had Nia Jax on commentary through the match, and this match it was pretty decent. You know, Amber Moon, really liked her in the match. One of my favorites ever since she was down in NXT. She was decent in the match, very enjoyable. She ends up winning the match with the Eclipse on Mickie James, and Mickie James really sold the finisher, really good. So Amber Moon ends up getting the win, and during the match, Alexa Bliss was talking, calling Nia a bully, and why Alexa wasn't out there tonight, was not out there tonight to be out there for Mickie. So, but overall, the match was decent. Then we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn backstage talking about what's going to happen tonight in a 10-man tag team match. They're really worried. And Miz says to them, how do you think that Shane will treat him when he goes to Smackdown? And Sami just ends up saying to Miz for him to focus on the match tonight. And he says to them, and Miz says to the Miztourage and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn that this is his Raw finale, and that they have to make it must-see. So it was a backstage segment with them. Then we had Dolph Ziggler end up coming out. Dolph Ziggler coming over from SmackDown to Raw, and he comes out saying he's back on Raw and that he steals the show everywhere he goes. And so Titus Worldwide ends up coming out. Titus, O'Neil, Apollo, and Dana Brooke. They come out. Titus welcomes Dolph back to Raw, and Titus offers him, to join Titus Worldwide. And so Dolph says, he didn't come to Raw alone. And so Drew McIntyre from NXT, attacks Titus O'Neil from behind, and it's just he and Dolph. They both take out Titus O'Neil and Apollo. So I'm really happy that Drew McIntyre is back. I know he was out with an injury, and I'm really glad he's back on the main roster now. From coming up from NXT. So I'm really happy about that. It's good seeing Drew McIntyre on the back on the main roster. So, but it was a pretty decent segment with Ziggler and Titus Worldwide, and even Drew McIntyre coming back up to the main roster from NXT. I really hope they give Drew McIntyre a push because he deserves it. He's a very good wrestler. He's good in the ring. I remember. So, but really happy that Drew McIntyre is back. Then we had Roman Reigns end up coming out saying, he goes, oh, once again, he's here and Lesnar isn't. And he ends up going and saying, once again, he's going to face Lesnar and that he's going to leave, Lesnar in the steel cage and come back as a full-time Universal Champion because Roman Reigns is going to face Brock Lesnar in the steel cage for the Universal title at the Greatest Royal Rumble. And I'm like, why do they keep on giving Roman Reigns title shots? Why? Does he really deserve it? No, he doesn't deserve it. 4 times he main evented WrestleMania, and it failed big time. WWE wants wants people sorry about that, but I was saying, in my opinion, Roman Reigns doesn't deserve to have, another title shot. I don't know why WWE keeps on giving, him title shot rematches. And he main evented WrestleMania 4 times. And they failed big time. WWE wants us to like Roman. But it's not going to happen. It failed 4 times already. In 4 years. So, but yeah, I don't want Roman Reigns to get any more title shot rematches. I don't want it. So yeah, Samoa Joe ends up coming out and says, Roman comes out here and how he brags about showing up for work. And he says, Roman never brags about getting the job done. And that, Roman will never get the job done. And he says he can't feel sorry for Roman because he keeps showing up and getting beat over and over until someone puts him down for good. And he says once Lesnar finishes him in the steel cage, he's going to put Roman to sleep at Backlash. And he then shows a video package of, Lesnar beating down on Roman. So, and then after the video package, Roman ends up saying to Joe, "Come on down here. Let me, show you. Let me show you something." And he ends up calling Joe lazy. So Joe ends up coming down, walking down the ramp. He stops. He walks back up the ramp, and he stops back up on the ramp. Just stands there. Then he comes back down, thinking that he's going to get in the ring with Roman, but he doesn't. And he ends up saying to Roman, "I'll see you at Backlash on my time." He didn't have the mic, on him, but we just heard it for what he said. So, it was a decent segment, because of Joe, in my opinion. But yeah. So, but just don't give Roman Reigns any more, title shot, rematch title shots, because in my opinion, he doesn't need it. For 4 years, WWE put him in the main event at WrestleMania, and it failed for those 4 years. And I made a mistake saying 4 times, but it was 4 years that WWE has put Roman Reigns in the main event. Then we had Natalya versus Mandy Rose. Typical women's match. Was meh, in my opinion. Natalya ended up getting the win with the sharpshooter on Mandy Rose. And after the match, Sonya Deville ends up attacking Natalya from behind. And then we saw both Mandy and Sonya beat down on Natalya. Ronda Rousey ends up coming out and, helping Natalya. Sonya gets in the ring, and, Ronda's just throwing, punches, and, Sonya's throwing punches, and then Ronda ends up taking down Sonya, and that pretty much ended that little tussle there. But match itself, it was meh. Then we got a video package of another superstar coming from Smackdown to Raw, and that was Baron Corbin. So Baron Corbin is now on the Raw roster. Then we had another match, Breezango versus Cesaro and Sheamus. The match, surprise ending to the match though, but it was Breezango. Breezango, they got the win. Tyler Breeze ended up rolling up Cesaro in a shocking way. But how do you make Breezango win this match? Why? Then we had Renee Young interviewing Elias. Man, double whammy for me right there. But Renee ends up interviewing Elias, and he says, he has become the biggest star in WWE, and he ends up talking shit about Bobby Lashley and saying that, oh, he should go in the stands and support Elias, support him. And he goes on to say that if Bobby Lashley interrupts him again, he's going to let him know what WWE stands for. And it was pretty much that. It was a little interview with Elias. Then we had the main event, which was the 10-man tag team match. Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bobby Lashley, and the surprise superstar coming over from Smackdown to Raw. And that superstar was Bobby Lashley. Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode. So yeah, it was Bobby Roode coming from SmackDown over to Raw. And that's pretty cool. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, AJ Styles will be coming over to Raw." So that's not the case. I guess AJ Styles is staying on SmackDown because of course he's the WWE champion. So it would make no sense for him to go to Raw and take the WWE championship with him. So Bobby Roode was the mystery superstar for the match. So it was them 5 versus The Miz, Curtis Axel, Bo Dallas, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. It was a decent main event. It was back and forth. Bobby Roode was decent in the match. Was entertaining. At some point in the match, it turned into like a clusterfuck, in my opinion, because just all the superstars and all the guys in that match were, going around, taking each other out. But Braun Strowman ended up winning the match for the team because he ended up hitting a running power slam on the Miz, and so he sent the Miz packing to SmackDown. And so Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Roode got the win. Lashley was decent in the match. He moved pretty good. Really happy that he's back, in the WWE. He was one of my favorite superstars from back in the day when he was with the company. And, it was really impressive. He was really impressive in the match. So pretty much after, Braun Strowman won the match, hit the running power slam on Miz, that ended Raw. And before Strowman ended up hitting the running power slam on Miz was going to tag in, it was Curtis Axel, but Curtis Axel ended up getting off the ring apron. So then he went for Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas did the same thing. And, they turned their backs on Miz because, Miz is going to SmackDown. And, they're not. So, pretty much that gave Strowman the chance to hit the running power slam on Miz. So, but overall, match itself, it was decent. It was entertaining in my opinion. Bobby Lashley was decent in the match. So anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and also Forgot to mention this. They actually did some shakeups. From what I heard in articles, they did it on Twitter and on Instagram. It was announced. The superstars that they announced on Twitter and Instagram are Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder is going to be a part of the Raw roster. The Ascension is going to be a part of the Raw roster. Mojo Rawley and Chad Gable. Chad Gable was also announced to be on the Raw roster as a singles competitor. Hopefully, they put him back with Jason Jordan when Jason Jordan returns, and be American Alpha again. If WWE goes that way, which I hope they do. So, and also Mike Kanellis. Mike Kanellis is going to be a part of the Raw roster also whenever he returns. But nobody gives a shit about Mike Kanellis. Look how he did in the ring last year. And Mike Kanellis has been out since last summer, because I know that he had that had to be tested for like drugs or something for the medication. And of course, him and his wife Maria Kanellis, they had, I think, they're expecting a baby. So, but those were the stars that they announced on Twitter and Instagram. So, but yeah, so that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow night for my Smackdown review, which will be the last night of the Superstar Shakeup. So until then, I'll see you all tomorrow night with the review. Bye.